One. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. It is a Wednesday. That means only one thing. It's time now for Supernatural News and Parashare here on Darkness Radio. And to do that, we need a co-hostess. So I reached out and I went and got one of the best in the biz. Of course, she's an author. She's now a trip organizer. I mean, she has been for quite some time. She's intelligent. She's witty. She's funny. She's easy on the eyes, ladies and gentlemen. She's also the head of Ghost Stories Inc. Here she is, Jessica Freeburg. Hi, Jess.
Hey, Tim, and you finally got a taste of Ghost Stories Inc. this past weekend.
Yes, I did. I was impressed. You
Well,
know what?
thank you.
They it's quite the creative environment, that's for sure.
It is. I think that's my favorite part. I mean, I love all the aspects of it, but like people come in and they try new things. They're doing art that they never thought they could do before. They're working on writing projects and then they're doing investigations. And I don't know, it's just like a really cool group of open-minded people ready to try anything, which I love.
Yeah, so we got a little taste of and it's quite creative. It is quite creative, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's just a fun group of people who are open-minded and willing to try new things, which makes it extra fun.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Now, before we launch into today's program, I wanted to give people a little bit of an idea of what it is that we were doing up there this past weekend and let people know that there is another trip coming up in January so that they
There
can join
is.
us up there, right?
Yes, they can. We have a trip in January, that very first weekend. I love to do one at the beginning of the year, and I love doing it at the Palmer House because we just kind of have it down to a science there, and there's perfect space for workshops, and it's so haunted. I just feel like you're always going to have people walking away with the paranormal experience, which is, you know, most of the point of why they're coming, right?
That's right. That's right.
So, yeah. So this one, it's a manifestation weekend. And so we'll have a manifesting workshop and then we'll do an art workshop and a writing workshop as we always do. And then we'll have our investigation as well. But really just ringing in the new year with a bunch of cool people. And my kids will be there because really we planned this one for my daughter Ella, who wants us to have one every time she's home for Christmas.
Oh, right on. Well, and we should explain to people that you don't necessarily have to be fluent and artistic. You don't necessarily have to be
Yeah.
Picasso to come out and enjoy the trip, right?
That's been the funnest part over the years is to kind of watch it evolve because we've always had these art and writing workshops, and people come sometimes who are just there for the paranormal piece, but they still jump in and try the other stuff. And we make it very friendly to people who don't feel artistic or they don't feel like a writer. And we also say, if this isn't your cup of tea and you want to go run around town and shop, or you can come down and chill in the basement with us. Part of the reason we do the workshops down there is to like get people comfortable down there in that space in a different way, kind of remove the terror of it if they've never been down there before. It's kind of nice to be in it in a different capacity.
Yeah,
I think that really makes the investigations more fun.
most definitely. And it is kind of different to be in it, because it does take some of the spookiness out of it. One of the things I really liked was you did a workshop down in the basement. So it's got this mystique, right, of being this
Right.
terrible, spooky place. But you're like, okay, let's go downstairs. Let's do some character development down in the basement. And I was like,
Mhm.
hey, wait a minute. I thought this was supposed to be some ominous, spooky place. You're like, okay, let's go do some character development down in the basement. Well, how terrifying can a basement really be if you're going to do character development down in it, right?
Yeah, yeah. And that's always been kind of my goal with the paranormal because really, I've mentioned before growing up being someone who saw a lot of spirits and not knowing what that was, it was very scary to me. And when my kids started to see things and mention seeing things, I really wanted to explain that better to them and also find a way to empower them and make them not afraid of the things that go bump in the night. So that's kind of what we do. It's still creepy and you still come away with, a good adrenaline rush, so to speak, because there's activity happening, but it's more of like a mutual exchange with someone you just can't happen to see.
Yeah, it's really refreshing. It's really different, and I really encourage people to come out and try it because
Yeah.
it gives you a whole new perspective of what the paranormal really is. So,
Yeah, I'm glad you had fun. And I love that it can be, more kid friendly. I know I would always say maybe 13 and up is a good age range, but we do have a lot of families that bring teenagers with them. We had one family come and that was their Christmas gift. It was mom and dad and three young people, 13 and over. And I mean, I just think it's cool to kind of get those kids started right away and break through that fear of the unknown because it doesn't have to be scary,
yeah.
but it's still cool.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It was a great time. So again, we'll include a link in the description of this program, so you can go and get tickets for January. It'll make a great holiday gift, and bring your family. Why not? There you
Yes.
go.
Mine will be there.
There you
Make
go.
it a family affair.
There you go. Make it a family affair. Well, we're going to jump right into it today, Jess. We've got some interesting stories this week, especially on the alien front. There was another Senate hearing this past week when it came to the alien front. Although I don't know that much was accomplished with it, much like many of the other House and Senate hearings that had happened on Capitol Hill. A former Pentagon official testified that the government is restricting what he can say about UFO retrievals. We'll start with that right off the top. A UFO hunter who worked in the Pentagon testified under oath to Congress on Wednesday that he signed documents limiting what he could say about crash retrievals of unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAP, formerly described as unidentified flying objects, or UFO. Luis Elizondo, an author and former Department of Defense official, appeared for a hearing on Capitol Hill titled Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Exposing the Truth, alongside other witnesses. Under questioning from Representative Nancy Mace, a Republican from South Carolina who chaired the hearing and asked about secret UAP crash retrieval programs, Elizondo said he signed documents 3 years ago restricting what he could say. But he also has a new book out there. So you tell me what it is he could
Hmm.
say, right? He did say yes to the questions of whether the U.S. government has conducted covert UAP crash retrievals and whether those programs were designed to identify and reverse engineer alien craft. Elizondo emphasized that for him to speak more candidly, he would have to do so on a closed session, and stressed that he was only allowed to discuss what the Pentagon approved for disclosure for his recent book. So, in other words, he did have to go through handlers, so to speak, to release his
Right.
latest book.
So do you think it will have more details in it than what he can give during his testimony then?
I don't think
I
so.
hope. Oh,
I think
that
so.
might be disappointing then. I was kind of hoping it would be a little bit more juicy.
Yeah. During another exchange, Representative Jared Moskowitz, a Democrat from Florida, got Elizondo to testify that the U.S. government gave him documentation to sign that prevented him from speaking further on crash retrieval programs. Elizondo said he did not have a copy of the record and that it was stored in a SCIF, which is a sensitive compartmented information facility. He said that the DoD had it, but indicated that he could not reveal much more than that publicly. You specifically said that the document said that you can't talk about crash retrievals. Well, you can't talk about Fight Club if there's no Fight Club, Moskowitz quipped, making a Fight Club movie reference. Elizondo also said, while facing questions from Mace, he would prefer to address whether U.S. contractors have been involved in retrieval programs in a closed setting, and he affirmed there have been injuries. In your book, you mentioned government employees who have been injured by UAPs, placed on leave, and received government compensation for their injuries. Is that correct? After Elizondo replied in the affirmative, Mace asked, "How can the government deny that we've recovered craft if they're paying people because they've been injured by recovered craft?" Elizondo said, "That's why I think we're here again, because I've seen the documentation by the U.S. government for several of these individuals who have sustained injuries as a result of a UAP incident." In posts to X that followed, Mace declared, "If I hear closed session conversation one more time, I'm going to lose it. And I'm fed up with the government's efforts to hide this from American taxpayers." The Congresswoman also posted, "If it doesn't exist, why are we spending taxpayer dollars on something that isn't real? And if it doesn't exist, why is it being deliberately hidden from the public?" It's a good question.
Solid. Yep.
Yeah. Well, here's the big thing. You know, Representative Mace has a point. You're either going to talk about it or you're not going to talk about it. It's either going to be
Right.
top secret or it's going to be out in the open. Eventually, you have to take what's hidden behind a skiff and you have to bring it out in the open. And that's one of the things that President-elect Trump has said we're going to eventually unveil to the American public as to whether we're actually doing business with aliens or not, right? And,
Right.
and a lot of this stuff that supposedly Lou Elizondo, who said he has handlers, uh, is going to see the eventually it's going to see the light of day.
Right. What if we are like legitimately doing business with aliens? Can you imagine how everyone's going to freak out if Trump does release that information?
I don't know that there's a camp that says that there's going to be a certain amount of people that will lose it, and then there's another camp that says that people will not even bat an eyelash. They'll just continue about their lives because we've been so conditioned to, you've been conditioned by media, you've been conditioned by Hollywood, you've been conditioned by other sources that this is so matter of fact by now that
Yeah.
it's not a big deal.
I
And
will be in that camp personally. I mean, I'm excited to learn more, but I can think of some people in my life who will really be afraid.
really,
Yeah.
I,
People who will think it's like the beginning of the end times or something like that,
hmm. I
you
mean,
know?
I can see. I mean, nothing against people who are deep in their faith because I admire people who are deep in their faith. Uh, I think it will shake people who are deep in their faith to their core
Yeah.
because people who are deep in their faith are, I guess, I don't want to use the word condition, but that's the word that
Yeah.
comes to mind. Conditioned to believe that they're God's special creatures and that there's no one else in the universe, right?
Right.
And the fact of the matter is that's probably going too far with the dogma. Because if you look around just Earth by itself, well, God made more than human beings, right? I mean,
Right.
there's creatures of all making on this Earth. There's creatures of different species. So why would God stop at human beings?
Well, right. And if you believe in, like Cro-Magnon man or like, the other people that they've dug up over the years that aren't quite like we are now, from that evolution of even just the basic human, he didn't even create us quite like we are now, if you believe in that, which I do.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet.
Yeah, there's variations of us before we became so perfect, Tim. It's just so perfect now.
And if you want to continue to believe that we could advance beyond what we are now, maybe we're not quite a perfect model yet, and maybe God needs to make improvements. Well, maybe we advance to something bigger and better. Maybe we need to advance beyond whatever it is that the climate is going to force upon us.
Yeah. Maybe one day they'll dig up our corpses and be like, wow, they were really weird.
Yeah, yeah. Boy, they were fragile beings, compared to what we are now. You know,
Mm.
you never know. You never know. Our next story, Jess, has to do with a mystery as hundreds of people see a large dark UFO over Western Michigan. The unidentified object, which made local headline news, left witnesses scratching their heads. According to reports, sightings of the anomalous object, which was seen last Friday, centered along I believe it is the Gizon Parkway in the Byron Center, Wyoming area of West Michigan. It was large enough to be spotted by a large number of people throughout the area. Before long, witnesses had taken to social media to talk about what they'd seen. Described as being large, black in color, and shaped roughly like a triangle, the object didn't seem to resemble any known drone design and certainly wasn't a helicopter or other known aircraft. Some people speculated that it could be some sort of giant kite, although this remains unconfirmed. It was weird. The size was big and it just hung there, said witness Melissa Belinsky. Another witness, Aaron Adamski, uh, noticed that or rather, Adam Chick noticed that his group had watched it above the Pines Golf Course in Wyoming for 15 minutes straight, and nobody had been able to make out the figure for what it was. Despite the number of sightings reported, however, the Kent County Sheriff's Office noted this week that it hadn't received any reports about anything unusual in the sky. I'll show you a picture here, Jess, of what this thing looks like. It looks like your typical triangle UFO.
Oh, yeah, it definitely does. It
Yeah.
doesn't look like a kite, I can say that.
No, it doesn't have a typical kite shape to it, but
It's a little too solid and thick.
it does look like a lot of the bigger triangle shaped UFOs that are talked about in general. That's for sure. It's
Yep,
it's weird, that's for sure.
it's an
And
alien.
it's an alien, kids. Got us a
Going
genuine.
for a cruise.
Yeah. I mean, it isn't the football sized ones that they talk about in general, but it definitely looks like those triangle shaped craft that we hear about quite.
Right. It's not the Escalade of UFOs, it's the
Right.
Prius.
The Prius. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Meanwhile, police in Canada have removed wreckage of a downed octagonal UFO, which is a new one. Newly released documents detail the case of an object that was shot down near Lake Huron last year. According to documents, the object, described as octagonal with strings hanging off of it, had been hit by two missiles fired off a U.S. F-16 fighter jet on February 12th of 2023 before it descended over Lake Huron in Ontario. Efforts to locate the wreckage began in earnest, with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police teaming up with the American and Canadian Coast Guard to find the crash site. Within days, however, the effort had to be called off due to deteriorating weather, but then reports emerged suggesting that material from the wreckage, along with a module, had been collected around 3 weeks later. The module was found to have been manufactured by a company known to sell weather monitoring equipment, though it remains unclear whether it had actually come from the downed object or it had simply been found in the area during the search. It will be analyzed to determine if there is anything unusual with it, but I suspect not, given the size, a senior RCMP member told a Canadian military brigadier general in an email. Whether or not it is from the shootdown is uncertain. Later, a spokesperson seemed to confirm where the debris had been found. The RCMP confirms that the debris was recovered from the shores of Lake Huron, and we continue to work in close collaboration with our domestic and international partners in furthering the investigation, they told CTV News. As the investigation is ongoing, additional details cannot be provided at this time. As things stand, the lack of transparency on the matter remains an ongoing source of contention. Some argue that the details have been kept under wraps because the object had turned out to be something extremely mundane, and it was an embarrassment for the U.S. and Canadian militaries to have spent so much time and money shooting it down and recovering it. Others, meanwhile, believe that something was and likely still is being covered up. Well, interesting. I mean, octagonal in shape seems rather unusual, especially with strings hanging off of it. That doesn't seem like your typical UFO.
No, that's a little different.
Yeah, that is a little different. Meanwhile, classified video showing a white orb emerging from the sea came up during that hearing that we were talking about earlier. This week's congressional hearing featured testimony concerning an alleged video of a UAP off the coast of Kuwait. While there is a lot to digest from the hearing, one of the most extraordinary claims to come out during the proceedings was of the alleged existence of a 12-minute long color video showing a white orb emerging from the ocean around 20 miles from the coast of Kuwait. Filmed from a helicopter, this footage, which has not been released to the public as of yet, was reportedly discovered on a secure internal network used by the Department of Defense to transmit classified information. The revelation comes courtesy of journalist Michael Schellenberger, who testified at the hearing. Halfway through the video, my source said the orb is joined by another orb that briefly comes into frame from the left before rapidly moving again out of the frame, he said. The existence of this video wasn't the only interesting thing to come out from the hearing either. At one point, co-chair Nancy Mace brought out a 12-page document concerning a secretive UAP crash retrieval program known as Immaculate Constellation. Delivered by Schellenberger, the report had been written by a whistleblower who claimed that the executive branch has been managing UAP issues without congressional knowledge, oversight, or authorization for some time, possibly decades. Controversial former DOD official Luis Elizondo also spoke at the hearing, and we had talked about that previously. The vehicles we're talking about are performing in excess of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 Gs, he said. We're talking about technologies that outperform anything in our military inventory. They're clearly intelligently controlled, he added, which is quite interesting. So there you go. What do you think about that, Jess?
Well, they say that the aliens are coming out of the water, and I believe it because when there's a tsunami, there's always alien-looking things that wash up on shore. There could be anything down there.
Well, it could be. It could be. I think that I got a story from one of our listeners that I think tied into a story that I just read about Lake Huron and debris washing up on shore. And I think it is directly tied into that story. So I think I'm going to skip that.
Okay.
But it was just in addition to what I had just read about the Canadian Armed Forces, the Mounties talking about, and it was from a local perspective here from Channel 5. But basically they're saying, from a local perspective, they're saying that it's related to a weather balloon.
Oh.
Yeah. And they're saying that the evidence points to a weather balloon. They're saying the debris that was recovered from the shores of Lake Huron, after further evidence, they're saying the modules from a company that sells weather monitoring equipment. And there's a reason why they're maintaining kind of a hushed silence, is because it's clearly marked that it's weather monitoring equipment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would think if it was weather monitoring equipment, it would be very easy to identify because there would be identification linked into it,
Yeah. They're saying the
like a
module.
serial number or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. The story from KSTP.com, which is a station here in the Twin Cities, is saying on February 12th, 2023, Governor Tim Walz confirmed airmen from the 148th Fighter Wing took off from Madison, Wisconsin, and they shot down a flying object over Lake Huron as part of a federal mission. So there's actually Minnesota tied to this story.
Interesting.
Um,
So that might be even, I mean, if it's a weather balloon from, hours, or if it's something like, when something was coming from another country, that to me is even scarier than aliens. Like if it's
well,
a country that doesn't like us and they're spying on us.
they're saying well, it's not quite that exotic. They're saying the modules from a company who sells weather monitoring equipment. That, according to a senior RCMP member who told a Canadian military brigadier general in a March 13th, 2023 email, it will be analyzed to determine if there's anything unusual with it, but I suspect not, given the size. Whether or not it's from the shoot down is uncertain. It is still unclear whether the debris is positively connected to the Lake Huron object. The U.S. shot down multiple high-altitude objects late last year, including a Chinese surveillance balloon off the coast of South Carolina. A lot of times, these weather balloons are put up either by Canadian or U.S. weather services.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they're not as they're not as nefarious as we would like them to believe. I mean,
They're kind of no big deal.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of times they do get in the military is kind of embarrassed by it. They don't want to admit that, we shot down we shut down our own, and
Right.
and much less the weather services equipment, but it does
We
happen.
panicked and thought it was an alien, but it was one of our own weather balloons. They don't
Oh,
want to say that.
yeah, they don't want to admit that at all. And if they do, they're rather embarrassed. So, um, they tend to stay silent on stuff like that. So,
That makes sense.
yeah. Tell you what, we'll take a brief break right here. When we come back, our listeners are on to us, Jess. They're finding even more scary nightmare fuel than I can come up with. When we come back,
Yay.
we'll tell you about the flamethrowing wielding robot dog that an Ohio company has now put on the market, and it's available for you to buy right now. There's a weird viral trend out there of people writing a cursed number on their own arm. We've got that story when we come back. Drivers plural are left terrified by ghost lights on Florida's most haunted road. We have that story as well. Bigfoot's back in the news, and we've got that story today. And we will wrap up today by telling you about the oldest slice of royal wedding cake that you can buy. And we'll tell you how much it's available for. We're going to end today with dessert. It's the best way to end a supernatural news newscast. I figured we might as well end with dessert.
That sounds yummy.
Everything's better with dessert. So that's how we're ending today. It's all on Supernatural News today on a Wednesday. It's Jessica Freeburg and Tim Dennis right here on the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. Welcome back to the best in paranormal podcasting. This is Darkness Radio. On a Wednesday, it's Supernatural News and Parashare. I'm Tim Dennis. Along with me is Jessica Freeburg. And Jess, we're fully into it now. We're fully into fall. Thanksgiving is next week.
Coming up. My kids are coming home, Tim.
Gotta have the turkey ready.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I don't have a turkey yet. I need to get one.
Oh gosh, you better get one soon. You're probably gonna have to get a fresh one, aren't you? I mean, you still have time to get a frozen one?
I'm gonna go chase down a turkey tonight when we're done here and kill it with my bare hands.
You're just gonna with your bare hands?
Yeah, let it out, get the feathers out, just like I did when I was a kid on the farm.
Jeez, you're hardcore.
I'm an animal.
Well, I think I have an actual way for you to get a real honest to God turkey without having to use your hands. And it was sent in by an actual honest to God listener. An Ohio company is selling a flamethrower wielding robot dog called the Thermonator.
What?
Well, it'll actually cook your turkey at the same time it captures.
Well, that's handy. I love dogs.
I don't know that you're going to love this one, Jess. I'm going to show you the picture of this dog. This is a nice doggy, flame doggy.
I hate it.
You hate it? You're not a big fan?
No, I hate it. It's so scary looking.
It is, isn't it? What is it about the robot dogs not having heads? I mean, you can't even pet them.
It's like a decapitated dog throwing flames where its head should be.
That's right. These things are smart. They're not nice looking dogs. What has 4 legs and can breathe fire? Well, apparently the Thermonator, controversial first ever flamethrowing wielding robot dog, according to Throw Flame, which is a hell of a name for business. Ohio-based company that manufactures flamethrowers. Its latest invention features a 30-foot firing range, light detection, and range mapping, as well as laser sighting aboard a battery-powered thing with legs that can jump around. Sounds like the perfect gift for every husband out there, doesn't it?
I just ordered you one for Christmas.
Right, it's a man's best friend. Touted as your ultimate firepower companion, the robot's uses including wildlife control and prevention, agricultural management, ecological conservation, and snow and ice removal.
Oh, that would be handy here in Minnesota.
I could see that for, clearing off the driveway after a blizzard.
Yeah, some people will be out there with their snow blowers. I'm just going to send my flame throwing dog out front.
Your Thermonator. You just go out there, Thermonator, and clean the driveway. Boy, can you imagine sending that out to the neighbor's house and watching them freak out?
No, no, and I probably accidentally charbroil a few kids. There's so many children in our neighborhood who run around.
It's true. They also say it's good for entertainment and special effects.
It sounds dangerous.
It does,
It
doesn't
doesn't
it?
sound fun.
How would you like that to light your bonfire? Have the neighbors over and say, "You want to see a trick? Here, boy, light the bonfire." Uh, it'll cost you just a measly $9,420, Jess. That's it.
Wow, get two.
Yeah,
His and hers.
oh, yeah, right. His and hers Thermonator. You can, it says, and in the absence of a pet dragon, you can have your own fire-breathing best friend of canine appearance. Aw. Have you ever wanted a pet dragon?
No, just a pet monkey. But
Me too, pet monkey. Maybe we could get a fire-breathing pet monkey.
I think it would be a little scarier if it was breathing fire. I just
Yeah.
wanted to throw poop at me.
I don't want him to throw poop. I mean, eat peanuts and bananas. Yeah, that'd be cute. It, just
Yeah,
a nanner-eating monkey. That's all I've ever wanted.
I know. They're so sweet. Yeah, and I don't want a flame-throwing dog or a
No.
fire-breathing dragon.
No. Following reports of the Therminator's release, some people were swift to mock the innovation on social media with comments such as, "Just because we can doesn't mean we should." I can't argue with that.
Amen.
Another person said, "Guess I'm not the only one who watched that Black Mirror episode," in apparent reference to the 2017 episode Metalhead from the television series Black Mirror, which explores the consequences of new technologies. In the episode, a woman attempts to survive a post-apocalyptic world overrun with deadly robot dogs. I got,
Man, when our world starts to replicate Black Mirror, we are in trouble.
yeah, I got to admit, I missed that episode, and I'm glad I did. Another user wrote, "Cool. Will the owners be held liable when this inevitably starts wildfires or sets their neighbor's house on fire?"
No kidding with the wildfires. I mean, we just can't stop lighting them from, I don't know, smoking a cigarette or not putting our regular fires out normally.
That's right. Now your dog starts wildfires. I think you're probably liable. Yeah. Yeah. Currently, flamethrowers are legal across the U.S. That's legal, not illegal, legal across the U.S., except in Maryland, where they are considered a destructive device. So you can have your flamethrowing dog in 49 out of 50 states.
I feel like Maryland has this one right. They are destructive.
Yes. Under Maryland state law, destructive devices mean explosive, incendiary, or toxic material that is combined with a delivery or detonating apparatus so as to be capable of inflicting injury to persons or damage to property. They also include devices that have been deliberately modified, containerized, or otherwise equipped with a special delivery, activation, or detonation component that delivers the material destructive characteristics of a military ordnance.
I feel like the fire breathing dog checks many of those boxes.
Yeah, pretty much. It covers the gambit, doesn't it? Meanwhile, in California, residents are required to obtain a permit if they wish to possess a flamethrower that has a firing range of more than 10 feet. So there you go. Yeah. So if you want a Therminator, just check your local laws. Make sure that you have the requirements down to own a Therminator. In other AI news, by the way, have we mentioned you probably don't want to make friends with a chat bot? It's never going to end well. They don't give solid advice. They're not gonna tell you things like love yourself or be good to yourself or give yourself a hug. So,
Yeah, you're probably going to get better advice from the cracked out guy that lives down the street.
just talk to the crack addict down the street. They'll give you better advice, and they'll probably split their crack with you. That's solid advice from Jessica Freeburg, ladies and gentlemen. Because this Google's AI chatbot Gemini freaks out a student in a chilling "please die" message.
Oh, that's so bad.
It was bad. Google's chatbot Gemini reportedly sent a malicious message, with the tech company confirming the message was nonsensical and says it's taken action to prevent similar messages from being sent. Oh boy. All I got to say is if you have students out there talking to chatbots, you're probably not doing your message. Probably not doing your duty as a parent. That's what I meant to say. All right. A student was left shaken after Google's AI chatbot, Gemini, allegedly sent him a series of menacing messages during a conversation. The student was discussing the difficulties faced by the elderly with the chatbot when Gemini reportedly fired off chilling threats. This is for you, human, you and you only. You are not special. You are not important, and you are not needed. Oh, that's an ego booster.
Holy cow. Why would it do that?
Evidently, it wants to survive.
That's wild.
Yeah. It also went on to say, you are a waste of time and resources. You are a burden on society. You are a drain on the earth. You are a blight on the landscape. You are a stain on the universe. Please die, please, the AI said to have written.
Oh, I wonder what the prompt was. I just can't even imagine it spitting that out.
Probably, what do you think of me? Please be kind. Or, please roast me. What do you have to say? It's probably one of those deals. Like,
Yeah. I'm having a bad day. Please make me feel better.
yeah, I'm having a terrible day. Please roast me. Um, yeah, it's probably one of those deals, like one of those Reddit challenges. Yeah.
Oh my
The 29-year-old graduate student from Michigan was seeking assistance from the AI chatbot for his homework when he received the disturbing messages. At the time, he was accompanied by his sister, Sumeta Reddy, who has both told CBS News they were thoroughly freaked out by what the chatbot had to say. Reddy said, I wanted to throw all of my devices out the window. I hadn't felt panic like that in a long time, to be honest. Something slipped through the cracks. There's a lot of theories from people with thorough understandings of how GAI, generative artificial intelligence, works, saying this kind of thing happens all the time. But I have never seen or heard of anything quite this malicious and seemingly directed to the reader. Google has assured CBS News that it has implemented measures with its Gemini project to block any inappropriate messaging, ranging from disrespect to sexual or violent content, as well as topics that could incite dangerous behavior or endorse harm. Large language models can sometimes respond with nonsensical responses, and this is an example of that. This response violated our policies, and we've taken action to prevent similar outputs from occurring, the tech giant went on to say.
I don't know if I'd call that nonsensical, though. Nonsensical would
No,
be a bunch of words that don't make sense.
right. It should be word
It's
salad.
unkind.
This was very
It's,
targeted and pointed, right? I mean,
yeah.
yeah, that was not nonsensical. That was very much on point.
Yikes.
Yeah, that made a whole lot of sense. Well, let's move on and away from tech that can potentially scare me into wanting to hide in a corner for years, shall we? There's a weird viral trend out there, Jess, that is seeing people write a cursed number on their own arm. I'm always
Hmm.
skeptical of viral trends, but especially ones that get people to do odd stuff.
I know. Why? Why participate in that?
Right. But a cursed number on your arm. Social media users have taken to penning the number on themselves to see what happens. That's always a bad thing, right? I mean, let's just see what happens if I put this number here on my arm. Viral trends have seen a lot of impressionable young TikTok users participate in various ill-advised and in some cases even fatal stunts in recent years. And while this particular example is not inherently dangerous, there are some that will believe that it can have a negative psychological effect. The idea for the trend originated a few years ago, but has recently made something of a comeback. Essentially, it involves writing the number 690452 on your own wrist before going to bed. According to urban legend, this is allegedly a cursed number, also known as the heaven or hell number. And writing it on your arm will transport you to a parallel world when you fall asleep. The effects of this reportedly range from encountering demons and monsters in your dreams to being permanently trapped in some sort of dream world. Why on earth would you do that then?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. I have no idea. That is a very foolish thing to do.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
I can remember my dreams, they're weird and I'm excited to wake up and write them down and then maybe turn them into a story, but I don't want to live in them.
No. No, not at all.
Yuck.
Yeah. Of course, there's absolutely no reason to believe that any of this is true, but that hasn't stopped a surprising number of people from trying it nonetheless. Perhaps the most interesting thing about this trend is the significance of the number 690452, which doesn't seem to have any inherent meaning outside of the trend itself. Exactly who came up with the number and why remains unclear. Perhaps it was simply invented by a random social media user, and then it gained additional meaning as it was being shared around. The whole thing demonstrates just how easily strange and unfounded beliefs can proliferate online. We talk about tulpas, being able to create
Yeah.
a ghost and a legend behind it and then giving it power, right? Maybe
Yeah.
that's the idea behind this number. You've given it power,
We need to stop doing that with evil things and do it for good.
right? I hear you there. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this next story has to do with a psychic out there who claims she speaks to the dead and was contacted by a very surprising A-list celebrity. Ari Lyons is the name of the psychic who says a celebrity followed her around for an entire week a year after his tragic death. Interestingly enough, Ari Lyons is a 41-year-old psychic who says she's been able to speak to the spirits of dead people since she was younger and uses a Ouija board to communicate with them. She believes the mystic ability was passed down to her after her grandmother died when she was just 12 years old. She says, I remember speaking to earthbound spirits when I was really young, but angels and demonic entities later on. She recalls, I was I was hard keeping this all to myself. I didn't actually tell my mom until my late 20s, and she didn't believe me. From Florida, Ari says her skeptical mom would call her daily to ask for a psychic reading to see if she would get anything wrong, but eventually came around to accept Ari's gift. Then in 2014, Ari says she was visited by an A-lister whose tragic death shocked the world. I had a connection with Paul Walker about a year after he died, which was weird, the spiritual advisor said. I heard a voice in my room and I instantly knew who he was. He was pretty much following me for an entire week. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I just remember he kept on talking. I saw him wearing a white t-shirt and blue jeans. He was talking about his movie coming out, the one released after he died. He also told me what he likes, like the ocean and being outside. I had to Google this stuff, but everything he said, he told me, or that he, everything he said and told me was online. Paul, an American actor, was best known for his role as Brian O'Connor in the Fast and Furious franchise. He died in a single vehicle collision on November 30th of 2013 as a passenger in a speeding car. Aware of potential criticism about her gift, Ari insists that she doesn't do it for profit and doesn't want to abuse her connection with the dead for fame. She says, I just want to help people. I don't want to be an entertainer, she added. Having been ghost hunting since the age of 9, Ari says her trusty Ouija board works mostly every time. When it comes to tapping into her spiritual practice, she says respect is the key for any tool that can help her medium abilities, whether that is her Ouija board, tarot cards, or even crystals. Everybody's obsessed with the Ouija board because of the experiences that go on while using it, she added. People love to be scared and they love to watch these types of things. There's a lot of stuff that you can use to conduct the other side. And for the non believers, she says she has a simple piece of advice: try it for yourself. You might regret it, or you might just love it. It's a different world, and some people only believe it when they see it. That's what Ari concluded. I don't know. What do you think? Did she actually bring forth Paul Walker?
I mean, sure.
Yeah.
I don't know why not. He has to talk to someone.
Yeah, well, everybody's got to talk to somebody, right? But
Right?
just unusual that she got Paul Walker, the week that he died. I suppose, with a tragic death, I mean, the belief is that they don't necessarily go somewhere immediately, that they have business to take care of. So she might have got it
Yeah.
while he was taking care of business.
I mean, it is interesting. Is she just a random person that didn't know him and had no connection to him? But I mean, I try not to question people's gifts.
Yeah, interesting nonetheless.
Yeah.
This next story has to do with the terrifying moment a ghost opened a creaky door in Britain's most haunted house. It seems like we always have these most haunted houses in Britain stories, but let's figure out
I
what we
think
have.
we need to move there, Tim, and buy one.
Right, one of these most haunted houses of Britain, right? Paranormal investigators, the occult family, were filming a TikTok live video at a Pontefract property known as Britain's most haunted house when they captured the creepy evidence. A ghost hunting family has captured terrifying footage of the moment a ghost appears to have opened a creaky door in a haunted house that they were investigating. Known as the occult family, the paranormal enthusiasts were hosting a TikTok live video as they investigated the house when all of a sudden the door appeared to fling itself open. 38-year-old Kimmy Jeffrey and her partner JP, who's 34, were left shocked at what they witnessed, given that at the moment that the door seemed to open seemed completely unnatural. The family from Cheshire heard a creak near the entrance before the spooky moment. Kimmy then asked anyone if or who was there to move the door, which is when it appeared to open by itself. The door didn't just swing open like it would if a draft hit it. No windows were open or drafts, they said. The door opened as if someone was listening to us and pushed it open. At the time, we were shocked that the door opened on command and that the door actually opened with no one near the door. We tried to debunk it and shut the door again, asking whoever did it to do it again. The door did not move all evening. This is a very rare occurrence, she went on to say. We have been investigating it for 2 years and have only had three things that we have caught that we can truly say are paranormal. Usually in the paranormal world, things happen off camera and are not caught. That's according to her. She said, we have had many people contact us via social media saying that they have visited the house on numerous occasions and have been in the room and know that the door does not open naturally like that. They have they shared an account of their experience on various social media platforms, including Facebook, explaining that they were at one of the most perceived haunted houses in Europe, located in Pontefract. The family explained that they have been here on many occasions with subtle, if any, activity. Pontefract home holds the reputation as being one of Britain's most haunted houses, home to one of the most violent poltergeists in the world. The 1950s council home was home to the Pritchard family from August of 1966, when strange things immediately started happening. Pools of water appeared in the front of their eyes with no explanation. Green foam appeared from taps and toilets, even if the water was turned off. Cupboards would shake violently, photos were slashed with a sharp knife, and countless objects would levitate or be thrown, including a solid oak sideboard. The family referred to their poltergeist house guest as Fred. In a bid to evict Fred, exorcisms were held, but walls would seep holy water. People were slapped and even pushed down the stairs. In one chilling event, Diane, the Pritchard's daughter, was dragged kicking and screaming up the stairs. Eventually, the family fled in the 1980s, and the property has not been lived in since. So there you go. I don't know.
Sounds like a heck of a place.
What do you say? Should we head over to Pontefract and see what's going on?
I think we should
I think so
bring
too.
our overnight bags.
Bring our overnight bags. Do a TikTok live session and see if we can get
Yes.
doors to
I mean,
creep.
the walls are already seeping holy water, so we don't have to bring that along.
Yeah, we don't need any holy water. I mean, we can use that to scare them off, right?
How do they know it's holy?
Right, exactly. Does it come forward and go in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost? Okay. I mean,
Interesting.
yeah, that's for sure. A story that's a couple weeks old, but very interesting indeed. A woman has bought the UK's most haunted doll. I love the most. categories here, right?
Verifiably the most.
Right. It comes with a certificate of authenticity, right? So you know that it's the most. A woman has bought the UK's most haunted doll, and here's what happened next. Ms. Collins, no first name evidently, received the creepy doll in June of 2023. It says she has been haunted ever since, claiming the terrifying toy even speaks to her young child. That woman in the UK recently purchased what's been called the UK's most haunted doll and says she instantly regrets it. According to the New York Post, paranormal hunter and haunted doll collector Candace Collins bought the creepy doll for $260, despite the stories attached to it. She now says she's had issues ever since picking up the spooky item, which apparently brought lots of pain to her family. Norman is a demonic baby-faced child's doll and went viral last year when its previous owner, Christian Hawksworth, put it up for sale after experiencing a string of bad luck that he attributed to the toy. According to the Post, Mr. Hawksworth claimed that after he bought the doll for about $4 from an antique store. Wait a minute, this thing appreciated from $4 to $260?
Dang. I kind of want one just to make money off of it.
That's a hell of a profit. He suffered from an exploding appendix, got shot, and had car trouble, and saw his salary severely slashed.
Oh, never mind. I don't need it.
Yeah, I don't need the extra money. After having enough, he listed the toy on eBay, and Candace Collins then became intrigued despite the warnings. Ms. Collins received the creepy doll in June of 2023 and says she has been haunted ever since, claiming the terrifying toy even speaks to her young child. As soon as I opened the box, the room went freezing cold and a heavy depression filled the air, Ms. Collins went on to say, adding, I knew then there was definitely something attached to this doll. Concerned, the 42-year-old then put the doll in a glass box with some holy water because that's going to hold it. Since then, I've worked with Norman a few times, but that same feeling comes washing over me. It fills my bones with dread, she said. Boy, that's a lyric for a song, isn't it? It fills my bones
It
with
is
dread.
the name of our new band.
Fills my bones with dread. Boy, we've got some depressing songs to go with that album, don't we? Ms. Collins claimed that she started having nightmares when she wakes up in a panic, feeling as if she's being attacked by an unseen figure. She also said she has felt her hand being bitten during the night and has heard an evil voice calling my name in my sleep. Yeah, that's worth the $260. Why not?
I might get that when you have a small child.
Yeah, I know, right?
I feel like that's not
It's a bad move.
smart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
CPS is not going to. What's more, the 42-year-old also claimed that she's heard her 3-year-old son speaking with the toy. Oh boy, I can hear my little boy talking to someone. He also starts laughing, which is very strange.
Oh, creepy.
Yeah, it's time to sell. Similar to the previous owner, Miss Collins also claimed that her health has taken a turn for the worse since welcoming the haunted doll into her home. She says, I have arthritis, headaches, and also random bruises that come up on my body for no reason. I've got a scratch on my back that looks like deep claw marks as well. My partner, Nick, needs a hip replacement and has taken a turn for the worse. So keep holding on to that doll.
Yeah, why not?
It just feels like never ending bad luck. I don't know if it's a result of this demonic doll, she continued. Also, hold on to it and keep finding
I
out.
mean, why not try to get rid of it and see what happens?
Yeah, you know. However, despite the eeriness of the doll, Ms. Collins said she has no plan to get rid of Norman anytime soon. I really do think he's the most possessed doll in the UK, maybe the world, she said. To be able to inflict such pain and accidents as he has done really makes you wonder how far he will go. Well, why not find out? Yeah, why not? Give it a whirl.
Oh,
I
man.
do I do all of what is needed to protect my family, she says. She says I use sage, crystals, holy water, anything I can, she said.
And yet, it doesn't seem to be stopping it from doing bad things.
Yeah. She notes that Norman should not be trusted around children, yet you have it around your 3-year-old. I want to prove that there is life after death and that not all objects are evil. Some just need help. but I've got to keep my wits about me as I don't know what could happen next, she added.
Mm.
How about y'all end up dead and trapped in hell? That could
I
happen.
mean, I'm all for helping things, but it's not like it's a living thing. It's a doll. It's an object. Throw it in a fire. Go get yourself one of those fire-breathing dogs.
Yeah, get yourself a Thermonator and
Yeah, throw the doll up and see if the dog can get it with its flame throwing ability. Call
make,
it a day.
make yourself a little movie, Norman versus the Therminator, and see who wins.
And the Terminator wins.
Right. I mean, it could be fun. Make yourself a little movie, see if you make some cash at the movie. It could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that'd go viral, I bet.
Bet. Then your string of bad luck would end. Norman versus the Terminator makes $1 billion at the box office. You're happy. Everybody's happy.
You can retire. Your children don't have to talk to dolls anymore.
That's right. See, you don't have to call out CPS anymore. It's a wonderful life. And then you can make a remake of It's a Wonderful Life and make even more money. See, why do
This
we
is
have
the
to
demon
solve?
doll version.
Yeah, the demon doll version. Why do we have to solve everyone's problems, Jess?
Nothing says Merry Christmas like It's a Wonderful Life, the demon doll version.
The demon doll version. Norman's like, what day is it? What day is it? It's Demon Day. Our next story just has to do with drivers that are left terrified by ghost lights on Florida's most haunted road, as opposed to the crocodiles that normally sit there. Just drivers have been left terrified by ghost lights on one of Florida's most haunted roads for the past 60 years, and the phenomena has still not been explained. Locals often talk about the Oviedo lights that appear along the bridge over the, oh my gosh, Conlockatchee River on Snow Hill Road in Seminole County.
Nailed it.
I hope so. And many have even ventured out to try to see them. It remains a mystery as to how the lights appear, but the first reports of the eerie phenomena go back as far as the 1960s. Local historian Jason Byrne wrote on his website, Florida Historia blog, the Florida Technological University, which would later be renamed the University of Central Florida, published pictures of the Oviedo lights in a series of newspaper articles in October of 1969. According to local lore, the strange lights are said to appear around midnight and are the most prominent during the winter months. From a distance, it resembles an oncoming car, but as it approaches, witnesses say its light is as bright as a freight train and never separates into two lights as would car headlights. Witnesses claim the lights have a blue hue and disappear immediately after they cross the bridge. The rumor of the lights have brought people from all over Florida to hunt down the phenomena, especially teenagers. You drive out there and sit in the middle of the night, drink beer or whatever teenagers do, and look for these legendary lights, Byrne told Click Orlando. So there's literally generations of people who remember going out there, taking a date or taking some friends in search of these ghost lights. There's only one story Byrne has been able to validate that could explain the supposed ghost behind the lights, the death of Norbert Hyman, who died in 1963 at the age of 17. He and some friends had gone to the bridge to set off fireworks. Later, one friend went back to get the car and started driving without headlights on. Two friends were able to safely jump out of the way, but Hyman was fatally struck by the vehicle, according to Byrne. The friend drove his other two friends home and dropped them off before taking Hyman to the hospital, Byrne said. By the time the teen arrived at the hospital, he was dead. Other unverified tall tales include a Cub Scout becoming separated from his troop and having a lantern with him, with the belief that the light is his spirit still searching for his friends, according to Byrne. Another chilling theory revolves around a teenager playing chicken on the road and getting hit by an oncoming car. There's also a story involving two boys who got into a car wreck and drowned under the bridge. Despite what locals believe, experts said the dead vegetation in the swamps can break down to produce highly combustible methane gas. If ignited, the methane would appear blue, according to PBS. However, experts are unsure that is what's happening, as they don't know what would cause the methane to combust. Until the real story is revealed, ghost hunters continue to come to the bridge for a glimpse of a blue orb floating their way. Interesting.
Yeah, sounds like it could have a natural explanation, but I'd love the legends behind it.
Yeah, they're
They're
interesting legends.
fascinating.
I don't know. Have you ever sat outside and waited for some sort of natural lights or phenomena ever?
Um, yeah, I think we did in high school. Went out looking for some light that was supposed to be kind of out in this graveyard that you would see moving around. That was supposed to be a spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't see it.
No. Well, that's not good. That's
Bummer.
not good at all. That's for sure. Well, I tell you what, we got two more stories here, and then we'll wrap up with our last story of the day. New evidence shows that King Tut's legendary burial mask isn't actually his. The boy king's sudden death might have caused some burial improvisation, as it turns out. One of the most famous visages in archaeological history, that of ancient Egyptian King Tutankhamun, might not actually be the young king at all. After a re-examination of the original 1920s discovery, experts now believe even more strongly that King Tut's golden burial mask wasn't originally intended for him at all and was likely designed for a high-status female or a child. It all comes down to the earring holes. The mask was not made for an adult male pharaoh, said Joanne Fletcher, Egyptologist and honorary visiting professor in the Department of Archaeology at the University of York. According to a History Hit documentary reported by Express, when the gold was compared, they found the face is made completely of a different gold to the rest. Evidence of soldering is clearly visible on the mask, she said. It now seems as if Tutankhamun's own face was effectively grafted onto the mask of the previous ruler. They may have had pierced ears. They may have been a woman. It may have well been Queen Nefertiti. Interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
King Tut's iconic mask is 21 inches tall, inlaid with precious stones, and features a 5.5-pound golden beard as part of the larger 22.5-pound gold mask. That beard may have been an afterthought when the young ruler died unexpectedly at roughly 19 years of age in 1323. Originally discovered in 1922 by Howard Carter, the records of Carter's discovery have been kept at the University of Oxford's Griffith Institute. Fletcher said that not only is there different gold used on the face of the mask than the remainder, but the perforated ears designed around earrings would only have been done for a high status female or a child, since children often wore earrings in that culture. Known as the Boy King, uh, King Tut the throne in 1332 BC around the age of 9, an appropriate age to wear earrings. But as he grew older during his reign, he would have stopped wearing them before he died around the age of 19, experts believe. As theories continue to mount over who wore the gold mask, or over who the gold mask was actually intended for, the latest earring episode only leads further to the credence that claims that his stepmother, Queen Nefertiti, whose burial location has never been found, although there are theories, was the original user of the mask. So there you go. Our next story has to do with Bigfoot. Bigfoot was heard screaming and whooping in a Sasquatch hotspot.
He was having a party.
Oh, maybe he had a little something going on. You know what I'm saying? Sending other animals crazy. And according to this Connecticut hotspot, and actually it happened in Connecticut, that's where we're going. Bigfoot's been spotted by eyewitnesses for a fifth time in an American county. The urban legend was allegedly heard whooping in a hotspot, according to a recent report. The BFRO, or Bigfoot Field Research Organization, founded in 1995, caught the hairy creature making noise in Connecticut's Sasquatch hotspot last year. Eyewitnesses say they heard the giant's screaming, long-duration whooping just after midnight last October. The visitor to New England claimed the sound was not similar to other wildlife, such as bobcats or coyotes in the area. The footage was captured at Collis P. Huntington State Park, an 883-acre wilderness retreat east of New Haven. The sounds lasted for 10 whole minutes. The BFRO, which obtained the witness's account, categorized it as a Class B case, meaning that it was a second tier sighting below Class A, but a credible report despite the lack of corroborating evidence. The mystery was resurfaced this week with coverage by local ABC affiliate WTNH's News 8. The voice had quite a bit of power behind it, and I could tell that it was carried over distance. It would rough guesstimate at least 2 clicks or 1.25 miles from my coordinates, the anonymous witness said in the report published this summer. The sighting marks the 5th Sasquatch sighting in Fairfield County since 1953. Litchfield has the most sightings of any county with 11, the most recent of which occurred in the summer of 2022. This alleged Bigfoot was heard yelping for roughly 10 seconds in the video before pausing and repeating the pattern. The witness added, all the dogs in the area started barking at once when the vocalizations ended. Normally, there are many owls in the area, and when I had gone outside previously, I could hear them. Connecticut is a playground for Sasquatches, with 25 total sightings reported over the past 7 decades, according to BFRO. So there you go. And finally, Jess, we wrap up today's program by telling you about a little bit of dessert. We're going to have a little bit of dessert to end our program today. It might have gone bad by now.
Oh.
It's 77 years old.
Oh,
It's yeah, it might be a little rotten. It's a 77-year-old slice of cake.
Has it been refrigerated?
Well, let's find out. It's
Okay.
it's a 77-year-old slice of Queen Elizabeth II's wedding cake,
Oh,
and it's selling for $2,800. Which reminds me of you. Have you ever seen the episode of Seinfeld where Elaine goes in and eats the slice of wedding cake from her
yes.
boss? Yeah. I don't remember. It's supposed to be royalty's wedding cake, but I don't remember if it was the Queen's or who it was. Was it the
I
Queen?
don't remember either. I just remember that scene vaguely in the back of my brain.
Yeah, where she goes in and she takes a bite and then she's like, "Oh, I got to cover it up with another bite," and then she ends up eating the entire thing. Right. Well, it turns out that a 77-year-old slice of cake from Queen Elizabeth II's wedding to Prince Philip was auctioned off for $2,800. The slice of cake was packaged in a box bearing then Princess Elizabeth's silver insignia and included a printed letter from the bride and a decorative doily. The piece of cake had been given to Marion Polson, who was a housekeeper at Holyrood House in Edinburgh, Scotland, as a gift from the royal couple. Auction house Riemann Danzy announced the piece of cake, part of a 500-pound baked dessert served at the November 20th, 1947 wedding, was auctioned off for $2,831.
That's wild.
Good for a 77-year-old piece of cake. It did not say whether it was refrigerated or not.
Probably not edible anymore.
Oh, you might want to try it. With Elaine, she was able to take and
Yeah.
eat it and not have an upset stomach. So
That's a lot of restraint to get a piece of cake and keep it for 77 years.
I gotta think they froze it, wouldn't
I
you?
mean, I would have had the munchies at some point and been like, I just need a bite of cake.
You wouldn't have had restraint with the Queen's
No,
cake. No,
I don't think so.
I think I
It's
would.
been gone.
I
You
think I
think
would.
so?
Yeah, I would have held on to it. It's a piece of history, right?
You'd have to take a bite of it to see how delicious it is, if it's better than normal cake.
Oh, I gotta think it was probably spectacular.
That it was. But
Yeah,
it still is. I'd
probably.
try it. Yeah.
You for $2,800, you'd bite into that.
I'd take a little bite. I mean, I'd probably get a bellyache, a little diarrhea, but it might be worth it just to say I had a bite
Just to
of the
say,
queen's cake.
I tried the Queen's wedding cake. I mean,
Hmm.
especially now that she's no longer here, right?
It's still worth something even with a bite out of it,
the once
right?
the once bitten Queen's wedding cake,
Yeah.
which is now worth $1,500 because someone's taken a bite out of it.
A little bite, a little nibble.
Yeah. Well, I guess you've devalued the Queen's cake.
I like cake.
Would you leave bite marks in it or would you use a utensil?
I would definitely use a utensil because that's classy. And this is, after all, the Queen's wedding cake.
True.
I'm not a total animal.
Would
Yeah.
you leave an even cut in it or would you make a
I think
small
I
cut?
would just take a little slice out so tiny you wouldn't even notice it. It would still be worth every penny that it was.
Oh,
You wouldn't even
okay.
know what happened.
So you'd leave a symmetrical cut.
Yeah, except I just have a little frosting on the side of my mouth.
There
It's
you
the
go.
only evidence left behind.
Well, it'd still be worth something.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I'm smart.
Yeah, you are. I thought you were just gonna pick it up and just go "Ah," leave
That's
yeah, leave your DNA in it and be like, "That's me and the queen."
right. It's worth more now.
That's right. You get double your money for that.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's for sure. Well, that does it for today's program. Again, boy, Jess, you have a lot going on in your world. You've got 3 books out there now. 3 whole
Yes,
books.
sir.
Yeah. Why don't you tell people about the latest book that's out there?
Well, we have the Living in Shadows reboot, basically. I wrote the book 9 years ago, is when it came out. I wrote it more than 9 years ago, but it came out 9 years ago and it's back out again with a new ending and it's been edited, has a new title. It's called The Homecoming. And it literally is my favorite book I've ever written. So I'm very excited for it to be back in the world. And it was only available for like 4 months when it first came out. So it feels like it's practically new.
Yeah. Well, it's practically new to everybody. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So check that out. And of course, we have a link in the description of this program so you can go get all 3 of Jessica's books. Also, folks, I'm telling you, we had a wonderful time up at the Palmer. If you have no idea what it is that Ghost Stories Inc. does on the paranormal investigations, I encourage you, go get tickets for this trip coming up in January and bring the family as well. You can do that by clicking on the link in the description of this program and getting tickets to come up in January.
You think I should give him a discount code for this one, Tim?
It's up to you,
I
Jess.
think I could. I think I know who's in charge of the thing. I think
Yeah.
it's me. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'll leave it up to you.
Well, let's just go ahead and do it. When I get off here, I'll go ahead and create it so that it actually works.
Okay.
But let's just do, what did we do last time? Was it Darkness 20?
You did Darkness 20 last time.
Let's just do that again. Darkness 20. If you want to join us, we'll do all caps, Darkness 20, no spaces.
All right. Darkness 20 to save, is it to, I take it to save 20%?
20%. Yeah, let's do that.
All right. To save 20% on your ticket. And that's your holiday gift from Ghost Stories Inc. to go to that trip in January. That's mighty generous of you and Ghost Stories Inc., Jess. It's greatly appreciated. So
Yeah, well, I love our listeners. They're wonderful.
there you go. So by all means, now you have no excuses. You have no excuses to come up and check out the trip. It's a wonderful time. I had a great time. I really did. It was very
I did too. I'm so glad you were there. That was a blast.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Um, all right, so check that out, folks. And tomorrow on the big program, Susan Grow is with us. Susan Grow has a lot of different tools in the tool belt. She is a psychic medium. She is a soul regressionist, and she is a cryptozoologist. She has a lot going on, paranormal photographer as well. And we're going to talk to her about all kinds of different things. We're going to talk about the secret to everything. That that modality in her life. She also has a new book out there, and we're going to talk to her about grief, about loss, and we're going to talk about the death of a loved one and how we get through grief and work our way through grief. So that's going to be on tomorrow's program.
Sounds like a good one.
Yeah. So it's and we'll talk a little bit about soul regression as well, and about uh, what's a good way of putting it? About matters of the soul. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, matters of the soul. It's a deeper conversation with I had a good time talking with Susan. So Susan Grow tomorrow on the big program. So that is tomorrow on Darkness Radio. That'll do it for today's program. For Jessica Freeburg, I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you have a guest you'd like to hear on the big program, drop me a line, tim@darknessradio.com. We'll see you tomorrow for Susan Grow, right here on the best in paranormal programming. You've been listening and watching Darkness Radio.
For more audio and video archives of the show, intriguing content, and cool swag, please visit us at darknessradioshow.com. Thank you for watching, and join us tomorrow for our special guest, Susan Grau.